In the history of important American political speeches, there is perhaps no speech that is as important, but at the same time also as thematically dark, morose, macabre, depressing, what have you, as the speech that Elizabeth Cady Stanton gave before the U.S. Senate in 1892. It was a peculiar occasion the Senate didn't often have in those days. Many women speak before that body, and they also didn't have many hearings on granting women the right to vote, yet Elizabeth Cady Stanton, for 40 years to that point, had made a name for herself as a pioneering, argumentative, combative, and forceful advocate for granting women the right to vote. This is 1892, some 28 years before women would be granted the right to vote in 1920, and 10 years before Elizabeth Cady Stanton died in New York in 1902. Nevertheless, the solitude of self became like this speech beacon for the movement. It galvanized more and more women's protests for the right to vote up until that historic constitutional amendment in 1920. So for such a galvanizing, mobilizing speech, one would imagine that this was kind of a stirring speech to the rafters, if you will, and it is quite the opposite. The speech's title suggests a kind of tragedy, a kind of aloneness, the solitude of self, and that is in fact her thesis. Her thesis is that we are alone in this world. We are alone in this world at birth, we are alone in this world at death, and we are for sure alone in this world as we try to understand the world around us, try to make ourselves into the best person that we can be, try to overcome obstacles. All of these kinds of responsibilities ultimately fall on us. It's up to us to sink or swim, to use the cliched phrase. And as a result, there is no body, no government, no corporation that should deny a person the equipment that they need to make themselves into a better person, to explore all avenues of their potential personalities or their capabilities. And so her argument then is to deny people the right to vote is to deny them the ability to express themselves, to improve themselves, and to make their mark on the world. And she said that that's artificial because we're all in this same boat together, in the sense that we're all souls, we're all individual souls, and each soul is an individual soul in the sense that it is separate and apart and different and distinct from all other souls. The point that I'm trying to make is that one of the things that makes this speech so artistic and so powerful is that she uses a series of travel or journeying metaphors, almost like Odysseus type metaphors. She talks at great length about Robinson Crusoe. She uses language like the soul has been cast upon the sea of life when it is born. And she even uses the metaphor of standing alone on a ship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean and looking alone around her at this infinite blackness and seeing herself as kind of a speck within this infinite blackness, and a speck that has to find its own way in the world. And so the point is that part of the artistry of this speech, just like part of the artistry of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream speech, is not just individual separate metaphors, separate from one another, but a root idea that then leads to multiple metaphors that are strung throughout the speech.